Hello, hello, welcome and welcome back to T is for Temidayo. It is 11:24 p.m. Today is Saturday, February 28th, 2026. Today marks day 81 of 365 days of tea for me. 81 days around the world, darling, in 81 days. Let's get started. All right, so yesterday's video was very real, and while those feelings, you know, persist because of the state of the world, or rather, while the state of the world persists, I will continue to come back to joy. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. 2 pumps of the good juice. Oh my God. Almost spilled. Yesterday we did our quads. So today we are going to do our abdomen. And as you know, I always like pull up my shirt so I can get the most of my abdominal space. Here it goes, nice and cold. Ooh, eek, eek, eek. Lately I've just been doing it on one hand because I'm like, it's fine. But you can see that's like it already starts pilling. I don't know if you can see that. Like it starts pilling. And technically, yes, I could have, wiped it down before I did this, but I didn't know it was going to be this bad. So, hold on, let me come back. So it turns out that the fabric of my shirt, my undershirt, and the sweater were rubbing like extra fabric onto my skin. Sucks. I was like, there's no way that's coming from my skin, and it's not. It's the fabric of the shirt. Well, you live and then you learn, I guess. All right, we're good to go. So today, while that dries, in honor of it being the final day of February and the culmination of what's been a really, really, really eventful Black History Month 2026, I want to take an opportunity to just highlight some Black trans people throughout history that I'd like to continue to get to know by name, because I know a lot of contemporary Black trans people, obviously, myself being one of them, but yeah, I think there are some other people that I'd like to get to know, so we're gonna hear about them. Da, da, da. So this is a list, and I can actually even add this in the show notes, made by S-Bomb, February 2nd of 2026, and the title is Black Trans Trailblazers That You Might Not Learn About in History Class. For Black History Month, we're honoring these Black trans pioneers from across America. Here we go. The first one is Pauli Murray. Perhaps the most underappreciated Black TGNC icon is Pauli Murray. Murray, maybe, I don't know. Murray, so however you want to say that. Like many queer people who lived in an earlier era, Pauli did not, as far as public records show, use the word transgender to describe themselves. Many modern-day institutions still reference a civil rights leader using she/her pronouns, which is complicated. While Pauli did indeed use she/her pronouns in public writing, in private they expressed themselves more nebulously. Pauli, who grew up in North Carolina, wrote that they believed themselves to be a girl who should have been a boy. They sought out testosterone for hormone replacement therapy and even begged doctors to perform exploratory surgeries with the belief that they would find undescended testes. So it sounds like Pauli might have also believed themselves to be intersex. They were also known to wear a seahorse brooch on their lapel and indeed were obsessed with seahorses due to their genderless nature. It was a symbol, Murray felt, of their own gender ambiguity. Pauli's most significant contribution to American life might have been their role in ending segregation. They initially pioneered the legal theory that was used by civil rights lawyers in Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, 1954, which outlawed racial segregation in American public schools. Thank you, Pauli Murray. Francis Thompson. Historian Channing Joseph described Frances as one of the linchpins who propelled Reconstruction forward after the Civil War. Frances was born into enslavement on a southern plantation. It was here that she transitioned. The family that claimed to own her recognized her gender identity and gave her feminine clothes to match. Wow. What a world. Frances found her liberation during an uprising and began her life as a free woman in Memphis, Tennessee, where she witnessed one of the most consequential post-war atrocities against Black Americans, the Memphis Massacre of May 1866. In the aftermath, Frances was one of the 5 brave Black women who recounted their stories of survival before a congressional committee, and her testimony helped reinvigorate Reconstructionist efforts. Congress adopted the 14th Amendment just a few weeks later, in June of 1866. Miss Major Griffin-Gracy. We would be remiss not to mention that we're celebrating the first Black History Month since the passing of the magnanimous Miss Major. Known to many as Mama, Major was a dedicated community organizer who refused to abandon the most marginalized among us. In Miss Major's own words, we used to accept the crap of we're not worthy and we shouldn't exist like those government is trying to push down our throat, she told Vice in 2018. We got to revolt. We've got to revolt, and we've got to reclaim who the F we are. If this world is going to get its act together, they have to support and put in the front to lead this revolution, the people who are the most oppressed, which is my Black transgender community. Oh, I wasn't expecting to get emotional. Whew. And last, certainly not least, Marsha P. Johnson. Marsha Pay It No Mind Johnson is perhaps the most recognizable figure in Black trans American history. In the early years post-Stonewall, many mainstream gay and lesbian organizations sought to distance themselves from their trans counterparts. Doesn't that sound familiar? Today, that inclination is making a nasty comeback as mention of trans people and trans life are removed from Stonewall monument materials. We just saw, maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago even, where they pulled down the pride flag outside of Stonewall, and many, 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 many people came together to put it back. Marsha was a prolific organizer and drag queen whose radiant joy and humor was a fixture of Manhattan's queer nightlife scene. She mobilized her community in the aftermath of the Stonewall Uprising alongside Sylvia Rivera and others. She founded the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, STAR, a group that waged direct actions against anti-trans violence and police brutality. Most importantly, however, STAR established a deep network of mutual aid and care for the trans street kids and sex workers either abandoned by the state or actively targeted by it. Marsha's legacy lives on, and her name has become synonymous with the spark that ignited the LGBTQ liberation movement as it is known today. A floral archway adorns the Marsha P. Johnson State Park in Brooklyn, and every pride homages to Marsha are plentiful. Indeed, her rallying cry of "for all of us" is the theme of this year's Pride Parade in New York City. Oh. And I believe that quote reads, "There can be no pride for some of us without liberation for all of us." So if you ever see that quote, know that it is coined by Miss Marsha P. Johnson. And there's one more person that I want to shout out. Okay. Whew. The last one is James Jim McHarris. James McHarris was a Black trans man whose life intersected with pivotal moments in American history. In 1954, Ebony magazine published an article featuring McHarris, making him one of the earliest documented Black transgender men to receive coverage in mainstream publication. Living during a time when transgender identities were virtually invisible in American public discourse, McHarris's appearance in Ebony magazine was a significant moment for Black trans visibility and representation. The article presented his history to readers of one of the most influential African American publications of the era, reaching a wide audience and contributing to early conversations about gender identity within Black communities. McHarris's life demonstrates the long history of transgender people, particularly trans men of color in the United States, a history that often goes unrecognized in mainstream narratives about trans identities. His story shows not only the visibility he claimed through Ebony magazine, but also the brutal vulnerabilities he faced. His presence in Ebony magazine is a testament to the diversity of Black LGBTQ+ experiences and the importance of acknowledging the contributions and resistance of trans men whose narratives are often overshadowed in discussions of transgender history. Was not expecting to cry, but here we are. So there are so many more Black trans people to witness, to recognize. So maybe this series will continue. I was not expecting to cry. Oh my God. But I think just like reading about my ancestors, reading about people who feel like sort of like distant cousins in this long weaved transgender history, Black transgender history in the United States, and honestly globally, it just is like, it reminds me that I'm not alone. It reminds me that we have always been here. And even under great systems of oppression, that we will continue to find our own liberation in ourselves and with our community. So as we like enter into March, I just want to remind myself that I am here, I am real. That this journey that I'm on is historical and ancient and necessary for my existence, for the existence of anyone who bears witness to my existence. And that I am so grateful, so glad to be me. And I will continue to be me every day, forever. And that I am not alone. And you are not alone. You are not alone. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. T is for Temidayo. Tune in for another day of 365 days of tea for me. I love you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.